Hey, are you wondering if your neck pain could be coming from cervical stenosis? In today's video, I'll be covering 3 things to check on yourself to see if you might have cervical stenosis. Now, just remember, this is not a replacement for going to the doctor, having x-rays, having MRIs to confirm if you have cervical stenosis. But these tests are pretty good at telling you if you likely have cervical stenosis and if it's a good idea to go get that neck pain checked out to see if there's something more serious going on that you might need more emergency medical attention for. So before I go into those 3 things, let me give you the 2 things that you need to look for that you should go to the hospital for right away. The big concern with cervical stenosis is that you might have something called myelopathy. Big words for your spinal cord is getting pinched by the stenosis, because cervical stenosis is narrowing of the holes where the nerves go through inside the spine. And if you have cervical myelopathy, some serious things can happen. And just as a disclaimer, it is possible to have an x-ray or an MRI, usually is what is done to diagnose this. It is possible to have an MRI that tells you that you have slight myelopathy without the symptoms. And in that situation, you usually have a good chance of fixing the cervical stenosis problem with myelopathy without surgery. But if your cervical myelopathy is more serious, the 2 signs that you need to look for and go get emergency help for is, 1, if you're having trouble walking, like if things change, if more recently as your cervical stenosis, suspected cervical stenosis got worse, and you stand up to walk around your house or wherever you are and you feel like you just have some balance issues that are new, that's a sign that you might have some severe cervical myelopathy. The other one that's real serious as well is if you're having accidents. They call this bowel and bladder dysfunction. What that means is, like, you have to go to the bathroom and you haven't made it a few times lately. You've had accidents where you've dirtied yourself. That's also a sign that you have cervical myelopathy. In both these cases, the trouble walking and the bowel and bladder problems, what's going on is your spinal cord is getting so pinched that the nerves that control your legs and your ability to hold in fluids and solids down there is becoming involved, and it's a serious thing. So you need to go to the doctor right away or go to the hospital with the urgent care and figure out what's going on. And there's a small chance that you might need to go have surgery to free up the space where the spinal cord goes through so that you don't lose that function permanently or have trouble walking permanently. Now, with all that said, those are rare circumstances, those are rare situations, and I don't mean to scare you. I just have to give you the red flags, the things to look for right away. And if you're watching this video right now and you're like, oh, thank goodness I haven't had any accidents, nothing's changed with my walking recently, I don't think that I have that, then you probably have the type of cervical stenosis problem that can be helped without surgery. Real quick, before I get into those 3 things, my name is Dr. David Midoff. I'm a specialist physical therapist at Paso Manual Physical Therapy. This channel's dedicated to helping people stay healthy, active, and mobile without an unnecessary surgery, injections, and having to rely on pain medications. Please subscribe and turn on your notifications so that you can get notified whenever we release a new video. We release content every week so that you can become more healthy and active. So let me tell you the 3 things to look for on cervical stenosis. Number 1, if you have stiffness in your neck, not necessarily pain, because a lot of people with stenosis, whether it's in the low back or the neck, they don't really have back pain or neck pain. So you may have neck pain, and that happens a lot of times, but you may not as well. And if you don't, it's okay. But if you have stiffness in your neck, like you can't turn your head as much as you used to, especially if it's one-sided, that is a clear sign that you might have a stenosis problem. It could be other issues too. It could be arthritis. It could be a stuck joint that happens. But the difference is, with a stuck joint, it happens more suddenly. It happens like, you wake up from one morning to the next and you have a stuck neck all of a sudden. That's more like a stuck joint, or even an arthritis situation. With arthritis, it tends to be painful as well as stiff. With stenosis, it could be painful and stiff because you could have arthritis also in addition to the stenosis. So you kind of have to look at it a little more closely to see if it's truly stenosis or arthritis or both. The second thing that you need to look for is if you've got pain going down your arm, or even in your shoulder. It could be pain, numbness, tingling, changes in temperature, like you feel like one side's cold or very hot. All these are signs of nerve problems. Whenever there's stenosis in the neck, that means the spaces where the nerves travel are becoming pinched. And so the nerves that come out of the neck end up going into the shoulder and down the arm all the way to the fingertips. So it is common to have some sort of pain, some sort of weakness, numbness, tingling, those symptoms if you've got a stenosis problem. A common way to tell if you've got the weakness problem is when carrying keys. Like if you're gonna put a key into a door or a car to turn the key and unlock the car, lock it, and you have trouble holding the keys or turning the keys, or you drop things more often, or things that you used to be able to do before relatively recently, within the past few months, now all of a sudden it become more challenging, like opening a jar or opening something that's stiff and tight. Those are signs that you might have weakness that could be coming from an exacerbating stenosis problem. And then the third thing to look for is if your symptoms are coming on gradually. So if your symptoms are slowly becoming worse, like you've noticed that there hasn't been a sudden change where all of a sudden you woke up one morning and you had all this pain down your arm into your hand. You didn't have a big amount of weakness that showed up all of a sudden, and there wasn't pain that just showed up real suddenly from one day to the next or even 1 week to the next. It's more gradual. It happens over the course of months, possibly even years, to where the neck becomes a little more stiff, the arm pain becomes, it's there, but it's manageable, and then slowly becomes more and more aggressive. That is a sign that it's cervical stenosis. Because if you think about it, if your nerve pathways were suddenly pinched, you would feel it and you would know, and it would be an emergency situation for you. It hurts quite a bit to get a severe pinched nerve. But if it's more of a gradual pinching, like the space is slowly narrowing, it kind of creeps up on people, and people tend to deal with the problem. They tend to feel the pain and get by with Tylenol or ibuprofen or some over-the-counter pain medication. But if it doesn't go away completely, if it keeps them from being able to do everything they need to be doing throughout the day, if they're having trouble at night sleeping because of this issue, then that's when they reach a certain threshold and they begin to look for help with this problem. So if you're there right now, if you're thinking, all right, I've taken pain medication, hasn't really gotten better, it's been progressively getting worse, then that's also a sign that you might have cervical stenosis. But remember, I said that it is good if you're in this situation, as long as you don't have the myelopathy symptoms, the trouble with walking that comes on suddenly or more recent, and the bowel and bladder problems, then you're going to be fine, and you should be able to manage this cervical stenosis problem just fine. This video today is intended to just have you check on yourself if you've got cervical stenosis problems, so that you can piece it together and figure out if it is or isn't. Now, of course, I recommend you go to the doctor if you think that you have this and go get it checked out. But if you're looking for how to fix it, because most of the time this can be fixed naturally, I've got a video for you. It's linked in the description below. It's how to fix cervical stenosis. And go check that out. You can get we have 3 exercises on there, 3 stretches and exercises, and they'll make a huge difference. So go check that out to get more help. Now, if you thought this video was helpful for you, please give us a like, and also subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so that you can get all our videos we put out each week. And please drop a comment if you have done these tests and you found that they were helpful. Especially the ideal situation would be you do these tests and you think that you have cervical stenosis, then you go to the doctor's office and they check you out, they do their testing, their imaging, and then they tell you have cervical stenosis. That just gives these tests tons of validity. We've seen it happen here in person in the clinic all the time. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please comment on here and let us know. Thanks so much, friends, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.